Good afternoon. Welcome again to our amazing and family ESTA meetings every Saturday afternoon. These are the meetings of the pre-season of Porto 2020 ESTA conference. ESTA, it means from the newers, the European or the very important association, European String Teachers Association. A very important association, as I just said, that began with wonderful musicians like Yudi Menuhin and Max Rostal many decades ago. We still try to do the job they start, is to disseminate the best of music and the best of teaching, sharing the experience and the knowledge between all the members. Every Saturday we come to you to present new presenters of the conference. And today we have our special guests, Gabriela Drazarova and Boris Kerem Bahar. One Ukrainian experienced teacher that lives now in Italy, and a young viola teacher, I would say, that starts a very interesting academic career in Turkey, in Ankara. Hi, Gabriela. Hi, Boris.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Thank
everyone.
you very much for your videos. They were very interesting. And everyone wants to see them again. You just go to our YouTube channel of Portuguese ESTA Association. ESTA Portugal is the name of the channel. And you can see from now maybe 16 videos from our presenters, because every week it was 2 new videos, 2 new presenters that come to us with their knowledge and their experience to share and to discuss and to make things going forward in the music world and the teaching atmosphere. Gabriela,
Hi.
do you want to tell us about you?
Yes.
You are
okay.
a violin? Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and greetings from Naples. My name is Gabriela Drazarova, and I am a professional violinist. But before talking about myself, I want to thank for inviting me, and congratulations on the management. You were set up in a small lapse of time, this channel that works like a Swiss watch. I guess it wasn't easy at all, and I take my hat off. It's an honor for me being here, but it's a great pleasure too, because my topic, the method of Shevchik, brings me back to my childhood and recalls a lot of memories. I was born in the Czech Republic and I grew up with Shevchik's method. I graduated at the Prague Academy of Music, and in my professional life, I was the first violin, the concertmaster, and professor at a conservatory teaching the string quartet. I played for 30 long years at the first stand in the Theater San Carlo, and I traveled with the orchestra around the world. But now I am retired and I focus on teaching, and I love it. And I am very happy to be here with you to share my experiences with the others. That's all.
Oh, thank you, Gabriela. It's very nice to have you here. And what is the feeling for a Ukrainian young girl that came to Italy?
But I am not an Ukrainian. I am from
Czech,
the Czech Republic.
Yes.
No problem. It's very near. Ukraine and Czech Republic are very near, close to each other. No problem. No problem, George. No problem. I would like to say how it came about that I finished in Naples from Pilsen in the Czech Republic. After graduating, I was living in Germany, where I got my first job in the opera of Frankfurt am Main. And there I met my Neapolitan husband. We fell in love, and he asked me if I would like to live in Italy. And I said, not before getting a job. Fortunately, soon after, there was an audition in the Teatro San Carlo. I applied for this, and the power of love made me win the first chair. And it was 30 years ago.
Wow. Nice story. Love story, I would say.
Yeah.
And, can you tell us, not so loud, but is that true that there's a lot of mafia in Naples?
I never came in touch with it. I think if you do your work, you come never in touch with this.
So that is from the movies, from the cinema.
I focus on other things.
But about pizza, I think pizza there are a lot.
The pizza is fantastic. The best pizza in the world, the Neapolitan pizza.
Yeah, I believe I never was in Naples. I was in many places in Italy, never in Naples. I need to go there for the pizza.
It's worth a visit. Naples is really worth a visit. Not only for pizza, but also for its glorious past. Because, in 1800, all famous musicians had to pass through Naples.
And what about the feeling in the theater? Is that the warm feeling that we dream about? Dramatic feeling.
In which sense a warm feeling?
Like musicians love music. They are very involved.
Yes, Napolitans love music. They are really great lovers.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think if you are here with us, you should be a teacher, and a very experienced teacher. Do you teach a long time ago?
I was teacher at the conservatory, but I taught the string quartet. Now I focus on teaching the violin, and it's obviously different. I love it, and I take my students to competitions, because I am sure they have to measure themselves with the others, and it's a very nice activity. I love it.
Oh, thank you. It sounds like something that you really love and that you really take seriously.
Yes, I love it really.
It's very important to be a student of a so important teacher like Ševčík. Do you feel this tradition of Ševčík in your blood, in your body? How do you feel Ševčík?
Yes, Ševčík is to me is a kind of bridge that allowed me to get to the final destination, which was my successful career. So I am very grateful to Ševčík's method. It's still a part of myself. I can't renounce of Ševčík, because there's a lot of discipline. There are not only the results of the technical practicing, but there is the psychological side of the method that teach you a lot of discipline and a lot of patience.
And I know I was also near very old teachers with a very big tradition, like Tibor Varga, with Bruno Duran, Sandor Beck, this kind of teachers. And it was always for this so big, so immense knowledge about music. sometimes it's difficult to match together with the programs of the conservatories and about the programs that they need to do, the students in the school, blah, blah, blah. What do you think about how is Sevcik in the Italian?
In Italian, it's so. The last ministerial program, because there has been a reform recently, but the last ministerial program, according to this, Italian conservatories used the method of Alberto Curci combined with some volumes of the Szewczyk's method. Alberto Curci was a pupil of Joseph Joachim, and he was a professor at the conservatory in Naples for a long 40 years. And he developed his basic program for beginners in 4 volumes called the Fundamental Technique. And this method is combined with some volumes of the Szewczyk's method, usually the Opus 1 for the left-hand articulation and Opus 2 for the right-hand all bow strokes. And in addition, also Opus 8 position changes. This was the last ministerial program. And after the reform, now teachers are not longer bound to this, and they can choose freely, and the choice is different from teacher to teacher. I don't know exactly.
But this program is for all Italy, for all conservatories, or only
for all Italy? Yeah, for all Italy.
But so we can feel that in Naples there should be a big violin tradition.
Yes, Naples has a great teacher. In past, there were really very good, great teachers.
And from where do you come in Czechs? From
Pilsen, the city
Pilsen.
of beer.
Oh,
the best beer in the world.
And how do you feel when it comes that Czechoslovakia break in 2 parts? You were already in Italy, no?
Yes, I was just in Italy, and
what's your
I think it's a good thing because the how to say, there were 2 nations forced to be together before. And after the fall of the wall in Germany, there was the need to regain identity. Identity, and so the 2 nations split up friendly, without accidents.
So in your point of view is very positive. People feels better like this, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Okay, just one more thing I'm curious to know about your opinion is that we know in Occidental tradition we tend to evaluate. We want always new things, new iPhone, new computer, new iPad, after another way of TV, after YouTube, after I don't know what will be after. So what do you think about the Sevcik exercises? Do you think they are still up to date?
Absolutely yes. And this is especially true for some volumes of the method. The first 2 volumes represent a unique phenomenon in the violin teaching literature, because previously the functions of both the right and left hand had never been examined separately in such a breadth and with such a systematically processed material. And no one before or since has succeeded in creating a work as comprehensive as this. And for this reason, these 2 volumes are absolutely up to date, and it's a kind of Bible for all violinists. I would add also other 2 volumes, Opus 8 and Opus 9. For the rest, there could be a little bit difference, but these 4 volumes are absolutely still up to date.
Oh, thank you. Maybe, okay, very good, Gabriela. Thank you for your
You are welcome.
knowledge. Maybe we wait a little bit because later people will ask you questions. They will have a lot of curiosity. And for the people that are listen us or watch us on the YouTube channel, you know, you can also write your questions at the chat on YouTube, or you can go to our Facebook page and write there what you want to know or you want to ask to our guests here, Baris and Gabriela. And now we give the word to Baris. Hi, Baris.
Hi, Javier.
Baris is speaking from Turkey, from Ankara, from one of the most amazing universities I saw in pictures, because I was never there, but really impressive. Do you want to tell us about you?
Yes.
A little bit? Baris, you can present yourself, how it comes that you are an academic now, a viola teacher in Ankara.
Yes, of course. First of all, thanks to association, all the world is living really hard times, and now we are together. It's really important. I'm Barış Kerem Bahar from Turkey. I was born in Izmir. Most of people know as Smyrna. I started after primary school to conservatory. The system is like this in Turkey. And then I finished the school university. I have bachelor degree. And then I went to Istanbul. I had my master and doctorate degree. And then I went to Italy, Brescia, because in Turkey, learning something about period instruments or period bowls, baroque, it's impossible. Our face is more close to Eastern style, maybe Russian style. There is no opportunity to learn something about baroque. I studied with the former Quartetto di Venezia member, Luca Morassutti. I learned something in 2 years. And then I came back to Turkey. Now this is my 10th year in teaching, and now I'm teaching in Ankara, Music and Fine Arts University. It's a new kind of music school in Turkey. We have education faculty and music education faculty and performing arts faculty like conservatory. I'm teaching there viola and chamber music. This is all about me. Also, I'm playing in some orchestras and chamber music. Of course, not only teaching, but I'm focused on teaching, baroque teaching and chamber music in my university.
And are you lucky? Are you lucky to teach your students at the school, or you need like us to make it on the computer?
Now we are teaching on computer. It's really
yeah.
bad. I don't like this. We tried all applications. This is my first time on Zoom. I think Zoom is better, but we are using different thing from Gmail system. Our university connected. It's really, really bad. But now it's impossible to make lessons together. And also, I want to tell you, this is my first time these meetings, because for you, this is hard times. For me, double hard times, because on December, I learned that I have cancer. And 2 months, I was at hospital for more than 20 chemotherapies, because it was lymphoma.
Let's cross our fingers that everything will go okay.
No, okay, yes, I'm okay. But in my tour, concert tour, in 2 weeks, it was like an orange where I put the viola. Suddenly, in 2 weeks, go really fastly. It was a kind of lymphoma. You know, there are lots of kind of lymphoma. My kind, I had to stay at hospital, lots of everyday chemotherapies. And after I had stem cell therapy, it's really, really important. really, really important. And I'm lucky that this week I learned that I don't have cancer.
Oh, great.
Yes, this is really great. I lost my hair 2 times. It was really bad. Now it's growing quickly. So it was double.
Don't worry, but you look very nice.
Thank you. I was always laughing. We are people. This is life. Everything can happen. But I always loved, and I knew that everything will be okay. Now I feel really okay. So this is my first time these meetings. I'm so sorry, but I have weak excuse. Everything will be okay, I think, for me and for all the world.
Well, thank you, Boris, to be with us. And
Yeah.
thank you for sharing your experience and to be so positive about so difficult.
We have to be. I'm viola player. I have to be positive.
It's a very good example and inspiring for all of us. You see that we will do everything. The conference is very easy to do compared
Yes.
to this kind of thing. Amazing. Boris, wow, now I got a little emotion about Okay, let's go back to your team, because for us, Turkey is very far.
Yes.
Not far only in kilometers, but far about the feeling. It's like there are a wall there, and it seems amazingly beautiful, amazingly interesting, but it's quite difficult to believe or to understand the classical music atmosphere there.
Yes.
What can you say us about that?
I have to explain something about Turkey. When I went to live in Italy, lots of people told me, "Oh, really? There are conservatories. Oh, you can teach, you can learn. It's really Western classical music, or you are learning different kind of music." They think everything is Oriental, and we are living in different country. But Turkey has really strong music tradition, not only Turkish classical music tradition. There are lots of kinds in Turkey. Do you know our government supporting the classical music? We have 6 symphonic orchestras, state symphonic orchestras, and 6 state operas, not talking about private or municipality orchestras. And when you enter these orchestras, you have a lifelong contract, whatever happens. I never heard something like anywhere in the Europe. This is really supportive, and every time I try to tell someone, okay, do you remember the International Viola Society in Poland? We were in the meeting together. You called me for a meeting. I wanted to tell someone, yes, we can make this organization in Turkey also, but someone told us we don't want to come to Turkey because they are thinking too politically. Yes, in television, in newspapers, something is looking really different, but reality is not like this. We are really making good things here, and I want to show this. We have state operas, ballets, and conservatories, lots of conservatories. And we try to make better things. So I try to tell people, please come enjoy, and see what's happening.
So it's good to be a musician now in Turkey.
Yeah, of course, everywhere in the world, you have some problems about being musician. But Turkey is not bad, not worse than anywhere. Yes, of course, we have problems everywhere.
When I was putting the question to you, it was not in a negative way. I always think that is so big, the culture in Turkey, that is so interesting that maybe it's not space for the classical music. Not because you don't have this culture, you understand? Because for us, at least for the Portuguese, we have a lot of admiration for the attraction to go there. We want to go because it seems really interesting and really amazing and beautiful. Different culture, exotic, Arabian, something, a lot of things, and that's why we really feel Turkey like this. But can you tell us, your team is about Haydn and Mozart. This is the middle of the classic. Yeah, this is the main. Can you tell us what was happening in Turkey in that time? The time of Mozart?
It was not Turkey at that time, you know.
Yeah.
It was Ottoman. You know, lots of sultans, lots of kings, I can say. They were also composing the classical music pieces. They were so interested about classical music, and lots of famous composers came to Turkey. They composed something in Turkey for Turkey. They were inviting some opera companies to Turkey, not Turkey, Ottoman Empire.
Yes.
Turkey.
Because they were powerful and very powerful. And
yes. So the traditions coming from Ottoman Empire. For example, first conservatories built in Ottoman Empire in Istanbul, in Ankara. And after Turkish Republic, the system changed. First, they built conservatories. They changed the conservatory system. And 1980s, all conservatories connected to universities. And now all conservatories connected to universities. System always changing. We try to make better things. But Turkey always interested in classical music. I can say this. And why I picked this title, because when you ask any viola player, who is your favorite composer or which composers are really important for viola, they will tell you probably Walton, Hindemith, and Bartók, 3 names. Yes, they're so important. Of course, they are important. But when they were composing, viola was already a solo instrument. But how it gained this solo identity, so we have to look back. After Rococo is the worst style for viola because there was only a soprano part, the upper part, and violin was playing everything, others only accompaniment. And after in classical period, we see that after 4-part quartets founded, everything changed. Especially Haydn is really important because in Opus 33 quartets, you can see first time a composer used viola with some specific identity, solo parts, some musical lines. Because before it was, playing viola was not a job. They couldn't earn enough money for living. It was like a second job. It was not the primary job. And after we can see the Mozart, K-Gestadt Trio, and especially Symphony Concertant. First time.
Boris,
Yeah.
thank you. Don't say too much.
Okay.
If you say something now, nobody will come to listen to you at the conference.
Yeah, I have more to
you see, but you can see, Boris has a lot to say to us about that.
Yeah, it's important for me.
Yeah, we sir, somebody told me that Bruno Giordana is with us and he wants to speak, to ask a question maybe. Hi, Bruno.
Hi, good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon.
I had a little memory that I have. One of the teachers with whom I studied, Remy Principe, taught for many years in Ankara at the conservatory. And this was not a private attitude that he had. It was organized between the 2 ministries from Turkey and Italy. And Italy sent him as a teacher of the Santa Cecilia Conservatory to teach in Ankara. And there he was enthusiastic of that experience. And he was always talking, I remember I was very young, but he was always talking about a Turkish violinist, Suna Khan. I don't know.
Suna Khan.
Something. He was so impressed by this violinist, and he was very impressed of the work that he was doing in Turkey. And then I went to Turkey many years ago, and I still felt that the link between between Turkey and let's say the Western music is very, very strong. For my feeling, it is like Turkey always belonged to the Western musical culture, having also its own culture, which is an enrichment of the thing. But it was just this notice that I wanted to remind this teacher of mine. So we are talking about the very beginning of the last century, that he had been in Turkey and teaching at the Ankara Conservatory for many years. Okay, that was all.
Thank you. Bruno,
Yes.
did you ever met Sevcik?
No, no, I did not
No.
meet Sevcik. No, maybe I mean in the time that I could have met Sevcik because of the age, probably there was a war, and
Yeah.
there was no possibility. I have also an idea about the question if Sevcik is still up to date. I would say the Sevcik is absolutely not only up to date. Sevcik is up to date because not the method is good or not good, because behind Sevcik method there is an idea, and the idea is what comes out in the semitone system. He is the first one, for me, probably the only one, that really developed this idea, which is fundamental for learning to play more or less or closely in tune a viola, a violin, or a viola. Because the idea that our hand is based on an interval of fourths, and this interval of fourths has one semitone. And accordingly, if the semitone is between first and second, second and third and fourth finger, this makes this four very clear position of the fingers on the string. Curci, the method of Curci was, for what I knew, I did not teach very much little children, but I studied the Curci method. I wanted to know what it was about, and really it develops very much and is based on the semitone system. And he has a part of studies where you have the semitone between first and second, and then semitone between third and third, and third and fourth. So it is systematically is done following this basic idea of Sevcik that I think is fundamental for violin and viola technique. So the idea is I mean will stay valid forever, because it is a reality. It's like discovering a reality. It is like this, and that is so. There is no doubt about that. Yes.
That is really very interesting. This idea of discover the reality. This is something that happens in art.
Yes.
Because to be up to date in technology, you need to be with the last model of the last week. You want to be updated in your viola classes online, you need to have the last software with the last computer. But when you speak about art, who will say that the Mozart concerto is not up to date?
Of course.
And of course, some genial people that discover ways to learn our instruments, they will forever be up to date. I believe about that. It was provocative question that Gabriela answered so well. Gabriela, if you need to choose one book of Sevcik, the most important, which one would you say?
It's impossible to answer. As you would ask who is the greatest composer, Mozart or Beethoven or Bach, it's impossible. And for me, the Sevcik's method is complete. The complexity is incredible, and I think all volumes are important. But some volumes are to be seen as a kind of encyclopedia. You pick up a term and you go in depth, but you don't study the volume from the first to the last note. You use only a moment that you need to go into depth. Other volumes are to be studied from the first to the last note as Opus 1 for the left-hand articulation, and Opus 2 is also a Bible for the bow. It's incredible. 4,000 bow strokes in 6 volumes.
Well,
May
The Bible-
I ask you a question?
yes,
Ahmed?
the discussion is open. Everyone can
Yeah,
make-
thank you. Gabriela, it's very interesting about Ševčík, and I agree with everything that's been said. A few years ago in ESTA UK, we had a guy who came and lectured to us about Ševčík, an expert in Ševčík. I'm afraid, I'm sorry to say, I've forgotten his name, but he was very interesting. And he said, and please tell me if I've got this wrong, that Ševčík's opus numbers extend to around about 22, 23, and that a considerable number of these opuses are still unpublished. They're still sitting in a library in Prague. And a very large number of the unpublished ones are concentrating not on technical things like Opus 1, Opus 2, and Opus 8, but on musical interpretation, phrasing, expression, etc. I would dearly love to see these other opuses, and I'd be very interested in your opinion about that.
Yes. The method is incredibly vast. There are 26 opuses. From the 26, 19 were published. Only 19, because 3 opuses were lost by the editor Harms. Ševčík was paid for these 3 opuses from 12 to 15. These opuses, they were called the School of Virtuosity. Ševčík was paid for this work, but it was never published, and we don't know for which reason this editor Harms didn't publish these opuses. After this firm of editor Harms was absorbed by the Warner Bros., and the manuscript could no longer be found.
Really interesting.
So,
Well,
so,
thank
may,
you.
so may I ask, have you come across the other, this is 3, so there are 23 opuses that presumably exist in some form or another. Have you seen any of these unpublished ones?
I have already all opuses. The last opus published is the 24. It contains pizzicati with the left hand united with the bow of the right hand. It was published in 2005. Opus 24. And it's to say that the work on the method took place over 3 creative periods. The first 2 see the construction of the technical basis, and the third one focuses on interpretation. And people don't know this. They consider the method only for his technical effect. The third period contains studies for many famous encores, and there are analytical studies for great violin concerti. And this is very important to reach this third period to understand that the method wasn't thought to improve only the technique, but also to reach the final synthesis, to focus on interpretation. Ševčík's aim was to improve technique to the point of not having even to think of it while performing. That was his final goal, but he focused on interpretation.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Gabriela, very much. We have now a request to ask a question. Is Gilles Camerford that is with us from Italy, and after Christian from Slovenia. Jill, go on.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, very well. How are
Good,
you?
good. Hello, everybody. Fine, thank you. No, I just wanted to say I don't have a question for Gabriela. I just wanted to say that I'm the privileged person who's already heard her presentation. And as you can tell by her answers, her presentation is absolutely full of wonderful information. And for me, some surprising facts. In fact, I was quite convinced that Ševčík must have stayed up at night trying to think of ways to torture violin players with his exercises and find all sorts of impossible things. And Gabriela told me, no, he did it for himself. He didn't do it for other people. And this for me was absolutely extraordinary, because it convinced me somebody who's doing it for themselves is really, really doing it very honestly. And then, you know, only in the second instance was it for everybody else. So when she'd finished, it was absolutely fascinating, I must say, her talk. And when she'd finished, said, oh, I could have gone on for hours. So there's a lot more to be said. And I'll look forward to hearing other, besides the presentation that she's going to do for Portugal. I'm looking forward to hearing much more from her about Ševčík. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Jill. And this comes to say now for everybody who is watching us, that if you want to know more about Ševčík with such a wonderful and experienced violin teacher like Gabriela Drazunova, you just register to the conference. If you are not yet registered, go to the website ESTA Porto 2020 and register for the conference, and you will have a full lecture about Ševčík with Gabriela. Thank you. Christian?
Hello, everybody. Gabriela, I'm absolutely really, it's fantastic you exposed Ševčík, because I'm coming from a country and a region where Ševčík is still a treasure for knowledge. And perhaps you know one of the most famous Ševčík's student, Václav Huml, was in former Yugoslavia, etc., and was working in Zagreb, and he has a very great impact on this area, and let's say where I'm living. But I would like to expose his idea, the Ševčík's idea about second violin accompaniment, like Wieniawski second violin concerto has, and Paganini. What can you say about? I think he was one of the first who made this on this way, to give a teacher opportunity to accompany a student on an artistic way, not just with a piano. What could you comment?
I am a little bit surprised, because from the historical sources, I learned that Ševčík didn't like accompanying with his violin. He said for the intonation, it's better to accompany with piano. It's surprising for me. This what you say.
It is also available on IMSLAP Petrucci Library, and this is the revision. I think I'm using for Wieniawski concerto, and it is also available for he wrote for a Brahms concert and for a Paganini concert, and some of pieces. But it's really fantastic for a Wieniawski concert. Perhaps from an early start with a student to work with this kind of accompaniment.
I would like to see the material. It's,
Okay, please.
I have consulted for my topic a very important biography that was written in 1950 by two researchers, and one of them was assistant of Ševčík. And in this biography, I could read that Ševčík didn't like accompaniment of the second violin. It's strange. It's interesting.
Okay. Please take a look on Petrucci Library.
Yes.
Some of the works are published, so I would really recommend this material.
Yes.
He
Okay, thank you.
He certainly wrote accompanimental parts in the bowing opus. In Opus 2, with all those bowings, there is an accompaniment, a teacher's.
Yes, Opus 2, yes, yes, but I knew only this one, Opus 2. And I do it with my students. It's very important to accompany them.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this, Christian. We all go to MASLP to see what's happening.
Just a few seconds, I shall put a link on your chat, so it would be accessible.
Baris,
Yeah.
do you listen Ševčík also in your university?
Yes.
Many students practice?
Yes, we are using also. But I want to ask this, Gabriela told in 2005, there's a new Ševčík published, Opus 24.
Opus 24, it's
Yeah,
a volume for pizzicati with the left hand united with the bow on the right hand.
Do you know it's also transcribed for viola?
This volume 24,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know it.
Because I never heard anything about this opus, and I want to check this.
Yeah, 2005 it was published in I think in Prague.
In Prague. Okay. Yes, we are also viola players also using Ševčík, and
do you want to see the volume?
Yes, yes.
Just a moment.
And now, okay.
We are coming to the end of our meeting. The clock is not stopping. We have time for maybe one more flash question.
I have a question for Baris.
Yes.
Baris.
Hi.
I several times I heard very fine violinists on competitions from Turkey in Italy. I've been there with my students, and I was really impressed. And so I'm asking you, how is with your school system, musical school system? I think, as I remember, it's a public music school system. It's not so much private. And what can you say about this? And especially the role of viola. How is from the early beginning, can students start with viola or with violin? How is the method?
Yes, it depends from teacher to teacher. For example, I started after primary school, after 5th grade. And after high school, you are entering the universities. It's connected to universities, conservatory systems. My teacher started with just viola. Some teachers starting with some big violins, and after turning to viola. But it's a little dangerous because I know that lots of teachers turning this bad violin students to viola players. So it's a little dangerous. In Turkey, for example, I'm teaching directly with viola. I like this system for understanding better the sound quality. So in Turkey, public schools are more, I don't want to say this, but government is supporting the public schools for conservatories. It's really important, and strong traditions coming with the public schools in Turkey. You don't have to pay anything, but you can access the really good teachers. But there are some also private schools. You can pick this private school, private universities. But for example, I never went to private school. I always went to public school, and I know in some countries, public schools quality not as well as the privates, but in Turkey, it's not like this. Public schools are always good for conservatory system. Also for foreign students, for example, for bachelor, master, and doctorate degree, foreign students can come and have these degrees with no payment, with good teachers. It's a good system, I think. Good opportunity for foreign students.
Thank you. I think Gabriela was trying to show the book.
Yes,
I think so.
this is Opus 24. But this is not to read. This is
Prague.
Prague,
Right.
2005.
And Bruno asked to speak again.
Yes, I wanted to say something about the transcription for viola. I'm talking especially about the Opus 2 variations. Because, I mean, probably you all know how the variations of Opus 2 are written. There is a theme, and then there are many chapters of the bow technique, which are called with whole bow length, with whole bow and half lengths, legato in the middle of the bow, picchettato, staccato, and so on, all the different styles of the bow. And each one of these chapters or titles of the book includes a certain number of variations. This goes also to this teacher, Remy Principe, with whom I studied sometimes, and he had a special idea of practicing the Opus 2 Ševčík exercises. He would he would not follow the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, because if you do like that, for instance, in Opus 2 Part 5, on 2 strings, before you get to the sautiller, you have to go through 580 variations, because that is variation for 582. So this is unthinkable. So he has this fantastic idea for me that I use, that we, the students, or we self, we study for each chapter, or each different chapter of the bow technique, which is in the violin edition very clearly written. Anytime you see something, you see a different bow lengths, picchettato, staccato, 1/3 of the bow length, and so again legato, different bowings, and so on. For each one you start studying all the first variations of these exercises. And then when you finish with that, you go to the second variation of all chapters, and so on. And in this way, you have, if you can do that in one day. In this one day, you cover the whole possibility of bow technique. And so this is, for me, is a fantastic idea. I don't know what Gabriela thinks about this, but I think that is a very good system, because in my opinion, if one starts to do Opus 2, Part 5, Book 5, or exercise number 5, I think, I don't know, you never get to the sautiller, because you throw the bow out of the window, because it is impossible that you go for 150 variations before you get to ta-ra-ra, ta-ra-ra, to the legato. So that system, I think, is a very intelligent way. Now, the problem with the viola edition is that all these chapters that in the violin edition are very clearly marked, because it is graphically, you can see where a different style starts, of the different style of the bow starts. In the viola edition, there is nothing, and you have variation from 1 to 800 or whatever it is, and without any sense. So this is something that I want to say about the viola transcription for the viola, because somehow I find it unusable. Variation 560, 500 is 575. 575 before you get, so you don't know, no one can go this variation from number 1 to 575. I don't believe it. Anyone, even you would make a world record, does not work, and that would not bring anything. Would also not bring anything, because when you start to do variation, or you do variation 569, which is the preparation for hopping staccato, I think you need 6 months before you reach there, and that should be reached in the first or second day of when you start practicing that bow technique. So this is so 2 things. One is this graphical difference between the violin edition, which is very clear, and where you understand what you are doing, and the viola edition, where there are only these variations written one after the other, which have for me, no sense. Yes. So check.
Thank you very much, Bruno.
For viola players, get a violin edition of Opus 2, Part 5, and then compare with the violin. Compare the violin and the viola, and then you will understand what I'm talking about. That is Opus 2, Part 3 for violin. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruno. So, as a summary of the day, we understand that the Sevcik is completely up to date, but the viola part is not up to date. Maybe someone wants, with editing aspiration, maybe we can make another one. Good one.
No, you don't need it. You don't need it. You just use the violin part. I mean, it's not a problem it's not a problem to read on the violin.
Make the transposition.
See, the transposition.
We can.
It is the themes are very simple. You learn the theme and then you play the theme by ear. No, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Posso aiutarti a trovare il posto che cerchi solamente sapendo dove ti trovi.
Oh, this is my Siri wanted to help you.
Well, some more questions?
May I say something?
Yes.
A question. Hello, everybody. A question for Gabriela. Do you know a contemporary Czech violinist called Gola? Zdeněk Gola, Gola. He wrote interesting techniques books, violin books, and one of them is like Sevcik, is a theme with the variations, bowing variations, and there's another one for left hand technique, and an interesting book only written in Czech. It's about vibrato, but it's a contemporary violin teacher. Gola.
I don't know him. Living in Italy, I can't follow all the editions from the Czech Republic, so I don't know him.
I think that it's from Ostrava.
Thank you.
How is the name? How was the name of this teacher?
Gola, I think.
Gola. See, I've heard this name, Gola. Yes.
Okay, we are really in the end of the time. We need to close this meeting, but we want to listen for last David and Xing. So I asked them to speak one after the other, and if after our guests can answer together, and we can close the meeting because we are too late today, and we still have to do the coffee break. If you are on YouTube and you want to join the coffee break, you need to have the link for our Zoom meeting. You know it, register to the conference. You will have one because all the participants get every week a link for the Zoom meeting, and we can be together and have a chat together. Okay, David.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, David.
Okay, good. Good afternoon, everybody. One small question for Boris and one for Gabriela. For Gabriela is more philosophical, but let's see. For Boris, if you include also some repertoire like a broken concert, a late Renaissance and early Baroque concert for violas, in your speech as well. And the question for Gabriela is, because we heard that Ševčík was doing it like for passion, an extreme passion for his development. And what do you think about the idea that we always teach to our students to become teachers, master of yourself? So the idea that a great master is producing new exercise and is doing, let's say, is finding methods that can work for himself, herself, or whoever. And the idea that we teach with an extreme precision, something that has been found by a master, how can be balanced with the idea that we teach to the student to become master of themselves?
Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Really interesting questions. Don't forget them. We will listen Xing first. Xing?
Hello everyone. I happen to have two Ševčík version. The one is the violin one, the Opus A, and the other one is the Opus A as well for the viola, and by transcribed by the Lionel Curtis. So just to share this, the viola version that only finished 47. So compare with the original violin version that is actually finished at 59.
Yeah.
So there are few that are missing, and I have to say I love this material very much, and I also hate it when I was younger. My teacher gave me this and just asked me to do 2 every week, and I was in the attic room and torture my neighbors with shifting. But I strongly recommend teachers and students to use this one. There's no better way to train them for better shifting and information. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Xing. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, George.
Okay, who wants to start to answer? Boris, Gabriela?
Boris.
Question, if he is asking the early period viola works or not?
Yes, yes. It was just a question. If you include in your research also repertoire that is from the late 16th century or early 17th century, so early Baroque, late Renaissance concert, viola concert, if you include in your research this as well.
Yes, I have something about this, but we cannot say directly viola because the instrument types were different. We can say maybe some braccios they were using, but it was not directly. I cannot say they are written for viola. Yes, there are some family members, but all family were different for viola. That's all.
Yeah, so there's no inclusion of viola concerts. We understand. Gabriela, do you want to answer David?
I'm not sure if I have understood the question. I think that Ševčík succeeded also in transmitting a modus operandi to his students. So apart from teaching the violin technique and other things, he transmitted also the way of teaching, because I've had 2 teachers, both pupils of Ševčík. One was a direct pupil, and the second was pupil of a pupil. And the way of teaching me the method was the same. And it was very interesting that there's been a difference, age difference of 30 years between one and the other. And the way of teaching was the same. So I think Ševčík did it also to transmit a modus operandi. I use this term, I don't know how to say in English. Modus operandi, the way of transmit this method. And I think this could be the idea. I didn't understand well the question.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. You can answer more and more questions at the conference when we will do it.
Yes.
So people can now start to think a lot of questions to Gabriela and to Boris, because we will meet again at our Porto 2020 conference. Now it's time to end our transmission at our YouTube channel. If you just arrived now, I think it was a very interesting meeting. You have the opportunity to go back to the beginning and watch it again. Just press on play and see it how much times you want, because it's like this, the YouTube technology, I would say, and we can profit from it. I cannot forget to answer our sponsors, Tomastic and Pirastro, because they are still with us at these difficult times, and they support all this work we are doing at the pre-season Porto 2020 ESTA International Conference. Thank you, and see you all next week. For the ones participants of the conference, we stay a few minutes for the coffee break. Bye-bye.